years ago, Chevrolet announced that they would bring back the Blazer name to America, and a lot of fans gasped because we hadn't seen the truck-based Blazer name in the States for the greater part of 15 plus years. And unfortunately, when the full production version came out, a lot of enthusiasts also rolled their eyes because Chevrolet had turned the Blazer into a car-based crossover, the Camaro of SUVs essentially, which is why this vehicle here is a rather interesting addition to the GMC lineup. This is the completely refreshed 2020 Acadia AT4, sporting an all-new truck-like front fascia. It has the usual AT4 upgraded off-road hardware that we expect from GMC's subdivision. So the big question I want to answer, has GMC turned the 2020 Acadia AT4 into a premium Blazer off-road vehicle? That's what we're here to find out. So looking at the design of the refreshed Acadia, I have to say, the GMC design team did a really good job with the front fascia. If you guys remember, this is the second generation Acadia that came out back in 2017. The pre-refresh model just looked really soft. It was really crossover-like. It was just a little bit too feminine for a lot of people's taste. So as you can see, GMC has really tried to rectify that with the styling elements that we know from their trucks. The front grille has been enlarged, obviously. The AT4 trim is also new, and instead of all the blingy chrome that we get with the Denali, the AT4 gets some black accents, which really make this truck a lot nicer. Full LED headlights are also standard equipment on all Acadias for the 2019 model year. You have C-shaped LED daytime running light, LED turn signals, LED low and high beams, and you also have LED fog lights at the lower front fascia. Especially in this gray color, I think it looks fantastic. It may actually look better than the Blazer from certain angles, especially if you guys don't like the headlights and the running lights divorced from the actual modules. Now, overall, this is a much smaller vehicle than something like the Chevrolet Traverse, but the Acadia is also bigger than the Blazer by a couple inches. Its wheelbase at 112.5 inches long is about 6 inches shorter than something like the Traverse. And its overall length at 193 inches long is about 2 inches shorter than the Blazer, but about 10 inches shorter than the Traverse. So I think GMC has a really good proportion, a really good stance, and I especially love what they've done with the AT4 trim because it includes these rather attractive set of 17-inch wheels. They're a black finish wheel on two 55/65 series all-terrain tires. Now, I wasn't able to find if they actually increased the ground clearance of this model. I think the regular one has around 8.5 inches. With these bigger, meatier tires, I would imagine it probably would add half an inch, but GMC did say that they have retuned the suspension on the AT4 for a more off-road oriented ride quality and just kind of the overall structure. Now, the basic shape hasn't actually changed with this vehicle. It still has, you know, that traditional crossover look with these off-road tires. And this car would compete with something like the Honda Passport, the Chevrolet Blazer, the Ford Edge, and the Hyundai Santa Fe. But the big difference is this comes standard with a third row, which will be useful. We'll get into that in just a second. Now at the back, the refresh at the rear kind of reminds me of a Ford Explorer. I'm not particularly sure I'm a fan of the new taillights with this C shape that kind of echoes the front headlights. They're kind of a full LED design with an LED turn signal, LED reverse light. I do like the satin dark chrome finish here that connects the two headlight modules together. The Denali trim has a complete chrome bar, which I just think looks too gaudy. I think the AT4 trim looks particularly nice. Below here at the lower front fascia, you've got a plastic bumper with parking sensors, and then you have this well-integrated dual exhaust tips that do come standard on all the models for the Acadia. Now this is an SUV, so obviously you want to know what the cargo capacity is like. Now because this is about 10 inches shorter than something like the Traverse, when you have the third row seat up, you only get around 13 cubic feet of space. Now thankfully, if you want to fold down all the seats, you fold down this seat, this is roughly going to give you around 35 cubic feet of space. And then if you fold down the second row, GMC says you get around 79 cubic feet of space. Now, if you're keeping score against the Blazer, that's about 15 more cubic feet of space. So this thing is very spacious, although the Traverse offers around 98 cubic feet of space, but that vehicle is considerably longer. So GMC is all about their "we are professional grade" marketing. So the interior is obviously something that you would hope that GMC would spend a lot of time. Now, first things first, let's shut the door. It has a relatively solid feel. It reminds me a lot of the Traverse, the Enclave, and the Blazer. They're all on the same platform. Now, this particular one here, the AT4, has their newer key fob system. It has remote start. It has a power liftgate as well. It's a fairly nice key. Feels good in your hands. Feels nice and durable. When you start the vehicle up, just put your foot on the brake, and then the engine will start right up for you. It has the typical GM style gauges with they'll do like a full sweep. There's a very small, like 5-inch LCD helper screen down there, which GMC's got a better screen where they kind of have a full LCD in the center. The gauges, to me, I just kind of wish that they had updated them because they look a little bit tired. They look a little bit old. The rest of this interior, in relation to the last Denali that I drove, is a little bit different in the fact that there's a little bit more in terms of dark luminized trim in here. I don't think this is real, but it looks faux. There's some contrasting stitching, orange stitching on the seats. There's an AT4 badge on the headrest. The seats themselves, they're only heated, surprisingly, and the seats are a 10-way power adjustment, but there's no memory seats. I'm guessing you have to go to the Denali trim to get the cooled seat and the memory seat function, which is, again, their highest tier. Now, the steering wheel, you can see it's tilt and telescoping. This particular one doesn't have a heated wheel, which surprised me because most of the AT4s include that, at least on their trucks. But the materials, you can see it's a soft touch injection molded plastic with some faux stitching. The door panel here is the same material, which is good. The windows are only one-touch automatic up-down for the front windows, but not for the rear windows. And really the biggest change you're going to see is this. This is the new push-button style transmission selector that replaces the traditional gear lever that we had in the pre-refresh models that had a 6-speed auto. I absolutely hate this transmission shifter selector, which I don't really hate the way it looks. I think it's laid out in a pretty nice orientation, but to put the vehicle into drive, why am I not pushing down on this? You have to pull up to go into drive, pull up to go into reverse, push to go into neutral. I don't understand why they had to do that. And then there's also a low setting here where you can control it via manual mode. There's no paddles on the wheel. Park is that little button there. I just think that they need to redo this. There are better push button transmission selectors in the industry, so I'm not entirely sure why. Now, this one also has dual zone automatic climate control. You can see this is the 8-inch GMC IntelliLink infotainment system. It does include Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. The screen itself is fine, although some competitors have gone to a larger screen. What I don't like here is in the Apple CarPlay menu, there's no GMC icon here that would take you back to the GMC page. Instead, you have to hit the home button. Now you can see here, there's the newer infotainment layout. It also has built-in factory embedded GPS, which the GPS itself, you guys have seen me show you this before. It's the typical newer head unit where it's very snappy, it's very quick. The graphics on the map don't look like anything special, but it definitely will get the job done. It also has 4G LTE, so there's a wireless hotspot. You can also access your cameras over here. No 360 camera on this particular one, but you do have some nice views if you guys are planning to actually tow with this vehicle. So overall, the interior, not really that different. There is some new trim down here on the center console. You can see this one here it's got the twin clutch all-wheel drive system where you can adjust what mode you'd like it to be in. So it always will default to 2-wheel drive. Kick this little selector over here to the right, it goes into 4-wheel drive, and then click it over one more time, it goes into a sport mode. So if you guys want to put this thing in all-wheel drive, remember you have to go here and you have to manually switch it. It'll stay in front drive, and it does it every time. So I imagine a lot of owners might get stuck in the snow if they forget to put this thing into 4-wheel drive. The center console here also has a pretty good size space right here. There's no power outlets over there. Instead, there's 2 USB ports over here, a USB-C and a standard USB. This is a nice padded area. The seats, the leather feels okay. Nothing super special. The seats themselves are comfortable, and I like the way they look. And then the glove compartment here, you can see it's big. It's damped, but not lined with felt. So the interior, definitely very usable. Most of you will get in and know how to use it, but there are some areas in here where GMC kind of missed the mark, I think, in terms of the material quality, and I don't like that new shifter. Now, as a family vehicle, you guys are definitely curious to know what the back seat is like. Now, the second row on this particular one has captain's chairs, which does lower the seating capacity to 6 because you can only get 2 in the third row, which I'll hop into in just a moment. Now, the Acadia definitely has a good amount of room back here. With this second row like this, GMC says you get around 38 inches of legroom. That's basically matching something that you get in like the Honda Passport or the Hyundai Santa Fe. These seats right here, they do slide forward and back, so I can actually move it back to give me more space. This is with the seat up a little bit more to give third row passengers a little bit more space. There's an armrest that folds down here. And then the materials are also soft touch with this interesting material that you get on the front, which kind of tries to look like carbon fiber. You have 2 map pockets. You have your own set of rear seat climate controls, but no heated rear seats. It looks like there's actually a button here, a blank button where the heated rear seats would go. These USB-C charging ports are new for 2019. You also have a 120 volt power outlet up right there as well. The sunroof on this particular one, there is a panoramic sunroof. It's not the one that completely connects with the front one, but I do like how GMC offers that. This does not open, keep that in mind, but there is a nice little handy sunshade. But let's hop into the third row and see if that's actually usable for adults. Now, unlike its competitors, the Acadia comes standard with a third row of seats. Now, to get back here, it's pretty easy. With the captain's chairs, obviously you can go through the middle, or you can also pull this lever right here, and that will make the seat kind of move forward to reveal a rather small opening to get back here. But as you can see, it only seats two. So let me get back there to show you guys what the space is like. There's a piece of plastic trim that's broken over here. Nothing to see there.
What was that?
Just cut that out, nothing to see. Now, once you get back here, I'm going to sit on this side of the vehicle with the seat all the way back. Now, this is definitely tight for third row passengers. Now, obviously, as I said, you can move this seat forward a little bit to give yourself more legroom. Obviously, you probably want to do that if you actually want to sit here for a little bit extended periods of time. But at 5'7", I have decent headroom back here. There's a fair amount of space to move around. There's good elbow room. There is actually a USB charging port back here, some cup holders, 2 cup holders, a little bit of storage. But overall, the third row here is not like something that you're going to find in a Traverse or a Kia Telluride. This is really just reserved for small children, but hey, this is way better than something you're going to find in like a Volkswagen Tiguan. Now, under the hood of the refreshed Acadia, you're going to find a pretty familiar powertrain setup, although there is a new engine for 2019. This is the engine that most people are going to get. It's GMC's corporate 3.6 liter direct injection V6 transversely mounted. It doesn't have a turbo. It makes 310 horsepower and 271 pound-feet of torque. The engine is basically unchanged. Honestly, I think it's a good engine for this segment of vehicle. It moves the truck out well, and it'll tow a maximum of 4,000 pounds. Now, the big change for 2019, they've replaced the 6-speed automatic with a new 9-speed automatic transmission. This is a GMC design transmission. Now, if you guys are looking for a different powertrain, they do offer a base 2.5 liter 4-cylinder that's naturally aspirated. It makes 197 horsepower. I would probably avoid that. Now, the new engine option is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder with direct injection. It makes 230 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. Now, that motor is not available on the AT4, so keep that in mind if you guys want that engine. The 4-cylinder turbo and this will tow a maximum of 4,000 pounds, as I said. And fuel economy, GMC didn't have the final numbers yet, but the 2019 model, got 1725 with this V6. The 4-cylinder got as good as like 2127. So whenever they come out with the 2-liter turbo, I'll have to add a little link in the description to address what that fuel economy was. Now, this vehicle is a lot smaller than the Traverse, as I said, so it weighs around 4,500 pounds. So let's get this out on the road and see how this engine with the new transmission performs. All right, so let's be frank here. Even though GMC has put off-road tires on it, it's got a retuned suspension, I wouldn't be going to the trails that your local Jeep guys go to because, let's face it, this is still a car-based all-wheel drive system. It doesn't have a low range, it doesn't have any skid plates, but basically the all-terrain tires just make for a vehicle that you could run up curves easier. You don't get too scared if you hit potholes. This car annoyingly also diverts to front-wheel drive, so if you forget to put it in all-wheel drive, it will just spin out the tires, which can be kind of annoying as well. And there's actually a little torque steer. It's been a few years since I drove the Acadia with this V6, which will remind me that I need to flip this little switch here over to Sport, which will lock it in all-wheel drive, and it also makes the steering a little tighter, although why bother with a sport mode? There should be an off-road mode for the AT4, but I don't see one on the knob. It looks honestly the same as the last Acadia that I drove. Now, this is still very much a car-based crossover, but the one thing about the Acadia in general, the Blazer got a lot of hate because it's built in Mexico. This car is proudly built in Tennessee, so at least it's built in America by American workers, so you can at least use that bragging right as opposed to your neighbor who decided to buy a Blazer. Now, going down the road, this is still a very comfortable car to drive. The ride quality is very comfortable and soft, and this is kind of a gravelly road over here, so the noise levels are a little bit higher than what I would like to show you guys, but we're on this super short media drive, and I'm probably late bringing this car back, so sorry GMC, don't get mad at me for bringing it back late. But other than that, visibility is good. The V6 has good power, but I will say that 9-speed took a long time to downshift there. The engine itself, you have to rev it out. It's the typical, GM high feature 3.6 liter V6. It moves this truck out smartly and it'll tow a maximum of 4,000 pounds. I just don't know if the 9-speed is an improvement over the 6. I mean, yes, it's got 3 more gears, but floored there, like it seriously had like a good half-second delay before it finally decided to choose a gear. There's no manual control on the steering wheel, just on this little button over here on the shifter, which nobody is going to use that because it's in a stupid location. The visibility, however, is good. The side mirrors are a little small for a vehicle this big. You do have their driver assistance stuff, which is part of the driver confidence package 2 that this one has. Adaptive cruise control is still frustratingly not on this car. In fact, it wasn't even on the Blazer that I had for $50,000. So I don't know what GM is doing with adaptive cruise control, but they need to start making that feature available or standard on a lot of their family vehicles, considering it's standard on something like a Toyota Highlander or a Honda Pilot. It just doesn't make sense for me. The seats, they are pretty comfortable. They don't really hold you in place. There's no aggressive bolstering or anything like that, but I do like the seat, the AT4 badge embroidered into the headrest. The steering in this car is electric. It's nothing that's going to make you look for your favorite back road, obviously, especially with these knobby tires, which I actually think the car looks really good with the black wheels and the overall package that it gives you. The visibility out of the back is also decent. Remember, this is just a more traditional crossover shape. And overall, I find this car super appealing, although it's not going to quite attract the same kind of attention that I had when I was driving around the Blazer, but granted, that was a red car with big 20-inch wheels on it. But I will say that this is more practical. It's still very comfortable, and I'd be eager to drive the new turbocharged 4-cylinder you can get, because it does have very similar torque to the 6-cylinder, but it's realized at a much lower RPM. Now, in just normal acceleration, the V6 makes a good noise, and the 9-speed does shift a little bit faster than the old 6-speed from what I remembered. This is, again, very reminiscent of the Blazer, and it's very comparable to the last Honda Passport that I drove. It's got a better powertrain than the last Ford Edge, at least the ST trim or sport trim, whatever. So I think that the Acadia has some really good changes to it. It'll appeal to a lot more buyers, especially those who thought that the pre-refresh model was too soft. But just don't go start looking for your favorite off-road trails. I mean, this thing could handle a few things, but something that would require a lot of ground clearance, some underbody protection, I would definitely steer clear of that and buy a Sierra AT4 if you guys plan to actually do some genuine off-roading. Now, again, the window sticker is absent from this vehicle, so I'm not entirely sure what it has in terms of options, but I do see that it has the premium Bose sound system. It probably has the AT4 premium package. The Bose audio in this car sounds okay. It's nothing that's super special. It's probably worth the upgrade, though. Typically, GM bundles it into the premium package for like $3,000 or $4,000 and gives you a bunch of extra crap. So the value quotient could be there. I just don't know what the actual final sticker price of this car is. I'm gonna guess it's close to 50 grand, which could make it a little too pricey for some shoppers. So obviously, with the 2020 Acadia refresh, GMC has really delivered an Acadia that is much more appealing looking, especially when you look at the exterior design. The pre-refresh model just looked a little bit too feminine. It just looked a little too soft. So with this particular trim, especially the AT4 with those all-terrain tires, the black accents, the unique badging, I think it's one of the most attractive looking crossovers. And it's also a very unique offering in the segment because you get a third row seat as standard, but it's not quite as big and as bulbous as something like the Chevrolet Traverse or the Kia Telluride, but it's more practical than something like the Honda Passport or the Hyundai Santa Fe. Now, with that being said, because I'm on this short media drive here in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, I didn't really have enough time to spend with this car to give it a full RPM rating, so expect me to do that whenever GMC gives me this car in DC for a full week to test, where I'll give it a full rating. But other than that, I want to go back to my original question in the intro. Has GMC turned this car into a premium off-road ready Blazer? And the simple answer is no, they haven't done that. This is not an off-road ready vehicle because it's lacking a low range transfer case. It really doesn't have that much more ground clearance than the standard model. And the all-wheel drive system, while it is good for all weather conditions, I wouldn't really plan to use the all-wheel drive system for rock crawling, even though this thing looks like it could handle it with the off-road ready tires. Really what they've delivered is a much more appealing Chevrolet Blazer, which I think actually looks better from certain angles, has more interior space, and it's also priced very well compared to the Blazer, compared to its competition. Now, the 2020 Acadia actually goes on sale in the fall of 2019, so it'll be rolling into dealerships in the next couple of months. And GMC didn't have final pricing yet for this vehicle, so I'll have to update this whenever they decide to release final pricing. Basically, this car starts at $29,800. It's about $800 more than the pre-refreshed model. And really, I don't have any other pricing from there on. I believe the AT4 is about $10,000 more expensive, so around $40,000, but they include a lot of goodies, a lot of styling updates that I think a lot of people will go for. I would imagine something like this with the AT4 premium package. It's going to be around the high $40,000 mark, which sounds like a lot of money, but consider the fact that I had a Blazer earlier this year that was around almost $50,000. This has more interior space. I think this looks just as aggressive. So really, it's up to you whether you guys, like this or you like the Blazer. Without a doubt, GMC has really introduced an Acadia that is much more appealing. But I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this 2020 Acadia AT4. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.